There's a really interesting video project over at the New York Times where, over the course of the last few months, the paper has asked nearly all the 2020 Democratic presidential candidates a series of rapid-fire questions, some serious, some more casual or odd, with the answers fitting the same mold. Like the first question on the list, in an ideal world, would anyone own handguns? And Bernie Sanders says, as long as you use them in a sportsman-type way.
Coming from a state where a whole lot of people own guns and people enjoy target practicing and so forth, yeah, I think people, if used in a sportsman-type way, I think that would be acceptable.
Fundamentally, we don't have guns for plinking, though. We have guns to defend life and property. But I guess if you're being burglarized, just put on some hunter's camo and an orange vest. That way you can confront the intruder in a sportsman-type way. So you're in the clear with Bernie Sanders, who has still more to say on this issue.
From way back when, I was someone who believed that automatic weapons, which military-style weapons, should not be sold or distributed to the civilian population, and that's my view today. I think we should ban the sale and distribution of automatic weapons.
Good call. We'll double ban them just to be safe, since they have, in fact, actually been banned since way back when, or at least effectively banned, unless you want to drop 20 grand and become a skeleton waiting for the paperwork to process. This law has been on the books for more than my entire lifetime. Automatic weapons have been banned since before Bernie Sanders was even in Congress. That's how far back we're talking. But I get it, boogeymen draw the votes. Just be careful about all that fear you're spreading. It creates situations like that which Eric Swalwell describes as the last time he was embarrassed.
I woke up in the middle of the night. I thought there were gunshots outside. Started running around the room and told my wife to get down, and I went into our kids' room and she's like, "What are you doing?" And it was just fireworks. They were just fireworks. Just wanted to protect the kids.
So I guess ban the assault fireworks too, which California already mostly does, of course. The common sense firework control can't keep Eric's family safe, but the common sense gun control assuredly will. Anyway, it's actually the last question on the list that's by far the most interesting, the perfect combination of the sincerely philosophical and the outright weird. The Times asks, does anyone deserve to have $1 billion? And some of the answers are exactly the sort of bad you'd expect.
No one deserves to have $1 billion.
I don't know that anyone deserves to have $1 billion.
Deserves got nothing to do with it.
I don't think anybody deserves to have $1 billion. There are people that are lucky to have $1 billion.
But before we get to those, I don't want to mislead, and so I must acknowledge many of the candidates I wouldn't expect actually gave sensible responses to this one, so it certainly wasn't universal crazy.
I mean, if they earn it and work hard for it, sure.
Look, those who work and earn money in this country is not a bad thing.
People who work hard and make a lot of money, I don't begrudge them that they earn their money.
I can't understate how significant the difference in these answers actually are and the implications of the philosophies behind them. I have to credit Harris and de Blasio and Gabbard and the others who deferred to the word earn rather than the word deserve. They went on to describe some tax plans and some other points I don't necessarily agree with, but they got it fundamentally right with the use of the word earn. That's a subtle change that means a world of difference. In a free economy, what you earn is simply the sum of what people are willing to pay you, or on the other side, what you're willing to accept for the goods and services you provide. Yes, some goods and services will be more highly valued than others. Cleaning toilets will produce different earnings than inventing the iPhone, for example. But under this arrangement, the exchange and the corresponding rate of exchange are based on consent and voluntarism. Nobody's getting exploited. Nobody's being coerced. What you earn is simply an aggregation of free and voluntary exchanges. It's a decentralized valuation. And therefore, any one person's subjective judgment about what you supposedly deserve is irrelevant. They too are free to buy your product or not if they think you deserve nothing. And speaking of that individual assessment, we ought to be very careful about judging deservedness based solely on a dollar figure. Show me any given rich person and any given poor person, and without any more information, ask me what each deserves. My answer will be, I don't know, More information is needed. Did that rich guy invent that iPhone, or did he rob a bank? Did the poor guy get robbed, or did he just waste his money on gambling and booze? The point is, it's free choice and hard work that establish deservedness, not a raw dollar figure that's supposedly too much or too little in some silly subjective judgment. I think a lot of this demonization of wealth itself has to do with a mistaken presupposition that the wealth must have been stolen or somehow taken illegitimately from somebody, that the economy is just a fixed pie, and someone else's big slice necessarily means that your slice is smaller, but that's not the way it works. Someone else creating something of incredible value does nothing to stop you from doing the same. JCPenney, being the dominant retailer of the catalog era, didn't stop a 90s garage operation called Amazon from assuming that role in the internet era, and today both are multi-billion-dollar companies. We shouldn't aspire for a world in which we take. We should aspire for a world in which we create. That is the difference between nobody having $1 billion because nobody deserves it, and everybody having $1 billion, or at least some level of meaningful wealth, because they earned it. And that is really the difference between these terms deserve and earn. When you base your economy on earnings, on the freedom to earn, the sky is the limit for the amount of wealth and prosperity that can be produced. When you base your economy on deservedness, the cap on prosperity is set by the benevolent authority, and the end result is that nobody prospers. How do we know? Because history tells us. There is a word for an economy based on what people supposedly deserve rather than what they earn. Communism. I don't use the term lightly. I'm not trying to speak hyperbolically, but to each according to what he deserves is nearly ripped from the mantra and the definition verbatim. That's why it's crucial to consider our fundamentals carefully, those first principles on which we base the rest of our worldview. In this case, what is wealth? Is it the aggregate value of the goods and services a person has provided to society? The aggregate value of a person's life's work? Or is it just a random number the state simply allows that person to have? Even more fundamentally, who owns that wealth? Does each individual who is free to exchange it as he sees fit? Or does the state who will distribute it according to a centralized subjective view of fairness or deservedness? And I get it, these are complex, detailed issues to consider and discuss. Some of these rough answers are on the New York Times for expecting immediate, simple responses to complex questions. But beware those whose knee-jerk reaction is to cap what property you deserve to build or acquire through free and voluntary exchange. Those whose knee-jerk reaction is to say, hey, that's enough prosperity you've created there, time to hand it over, you're doing it wrong. It's neither liberty nor equality that are their first principles. It's just control. It's just a belief that they know how to run your life better than you do. And maybe they do genuinely want prosperity for you and I. I don't know if they're evil or just naive. But the point is, I would much rather be free to pursue prosperity for myself than trust them to give it to me, especially when their plan is to take it from someone else to do so, even if they do genuinely have my interest at heart. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Twitter, that is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.